Welcome back to my channel. My name is Krystal Nicole Olson and I make pretty crappy videos. I love listening and watching Storytime videos. I think they are so entertaining. I never thought I would find entertainment or joy out of watching somebody on screen literally just talking about some fucking story that they experienced in life that like led them to where they are now. I honestly love Storytime videos, and I was thinking about it, and I was just like, I had a lot of crazy shit happen my entire life. Lots of crazy shit. And why not share it with the entire world? You can all know about me. Yay! It's going to be my horror story C-section. My C-section horror story, whatever you want to call it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like story times. I'm planning on doing a bunch more. So this was in 2011. I only have one child so far because that was terrifying. Basically, I had opted for a C-section. I knew I was going to have a very big baby, and they told me already that I had a 50% chance of needing a C-section, but that I should try to labor just to see. And I was like, no, I'm okay. I'm good. Just do the operation and I'm fine. Like, this baby is not going to come out of this vagina. It's not going to happen. It was an elective C-section. Got me settled into this room. I was with my husband, and they got me settled into this kind of like room that they like kind of test you out, like your heart rate, baby's heart rate, make sure everything's all good before you go in for surgery. I went in there and they had me hooked up to those really annoying baby monitor things, the ones that like just press against that already swollen stomach, and they said that there was a C-section before me and that I would be next. Waiting in there, I was told not to eat past midnight, so I had my last little bit of food I think at like 11:30, and my last bit of water like 5 minutes to 12. 8 in the morning, and I was in there waiting, and I didn't think that it would take as long as it did. I ended up not having surgery until like 12:30. It was like 12:30 p.m. or something when I finally got put through, and they were like, oh yeah, let's have a baby. The way our hospital works is like surgery's like downstairs? I'm pretty sure I took an elevator. I have a terrible memory. So yeah, I get into this room. It's like the pre-op room, or it's just this big space. There's nurses everywhere, and the anesthesiologist comes over, and he's like asking me questions, and I'm answering, and I'm getting real nervous. I'm like, holy fuck, this is really gonna happen. He goes to put an IV in, and I have rolling veins, and if you don't know what that is, it just basically means that like when they go to try to put the IV in, your veins roll, like they just roll out of the way, and you just have really hard to find veins. Always one vein that no matter what, like you can always get an IV into. And I told him that, and he didn't listen at all. He was just like, yeah, whatever, I'm just gonna try it. So they ended up trying like in here and like on the side here, and then finally, and at one point he had tried getting the IV in, it didn't work, and he actually got really frustrated and kind of angry about it, and I was just like, you're gonna put a needle in my back now? No. That's not gonna happen. Finally, he went over to the vein that I had suggested, and he got it in. First try, nothing. It was perfect. And then I don't know what they do, but they usually have something where it like stops the blood from coming out. And I don't remember, I don't know how it works. I'm not a nurse. I have no idea. But basically, I kept bleeding. So, like, there was blood literally going down my arm. And I'm just, he's like, oh, it'll be fine. Like, he wasn't like that. Like, he stopped it and he fixed it, but didn't care. It was just like, meh, whatever. You're fine. You're going in for surgery. You're going to be seeing a lot more blood than that. Ended up with the IV in, and he gave me lidocaine in, like, through the IV, and he was like, this is gonna make you dizzy and blah blah blah. And I was like, before I go in for surgery, I need to go use the washroom right now. Like, I'm gonna pee my pants, so I'm gonna pee my hospital gown. So I got up and I went to the washroom and then came back, and they were like, hey, we're ready, you get to go in there. And by this time, like, my heart was, like, literally thumping out of my chest. Like, I thought I was gonna die just alone from the amount that my heart was racing. I didn't walk in. I was already on, like, a bed, and they had rolled me into the room. And then they get you to scoot over onto this tiny little, like, board. This little board, literally, like, the beams in gymnastics, it was like that. And I was like, I'm fucking huge, I'm not gonna fit on there. And they were like, no, you'll be fine, we're gonna strap you down. And I was like, excuse you? There, I sat down, and there was a bunch of nurses. I couldn't even count how many there were. The doctors were not in yet. Apparently they were scrubbing up, which, I've seen on Grey's Anatomy. I know how it's done. So I'm sitting up, and the anesthesiologist comes in, and he goes, I need to look at your back. And so he had me turn sideways and like hunch over. He was like, can you hunch please? And like, I was hunching. I was in this really weird position. He was feeling my spine, and he's like, okay, I think we're good. And he's like, I'm gonna give you a spinal and an epidural. And I was like, okay, sure, just numb me right up. Looking over at the IV and seeing that there was this white liquid going into my IV tube. And I remember asking him, what is that? And he goes, oh, it's just gonna calm you down. I think they could tell I was nervous. And no, I said, no, I really need to know. Like, I need to know what medication you're giving me. And he said that it was ketamine. I'm sorry? Ketamine! Immediately. Not because I knew that it was ketamine. Like, it hit me hard. I was just like, woo! And a nurse came over, and she's like, I want you to hold on to my arms. So I was like holding on to her arms, and I'm hunched over. And I just remember talking to her, but I was so out of it that I was just like, you got big boobs, and like, oh, pretty glasses, and what a wonderful necklace, and what's your name? You want to go out sometime? As I'm like naked getting an epidural. He says to me, you're gonna feel some stings that feel like bee stings. I'm just numbing the area. So I think there was like 4 or 5 of those. I can't quite remember. Those weren't too bad. I mean, like, they stung. It felt like a hot bee sting. But the feeling of a tube going into your spine, and you had to hold still. And remember, I was high as a kite. I was so high. And he's like, hold still. I'm about to like insert a fucking needle into your spine. Not paralyzed. He did a good job that way. So I remember feeling, I didn't really feel the needle itself go in, but I felt when he put the tube through. And that was just like, if you've ever thought about what it would be like to have like a worm crawling underneath your skin, it's like that. It's like that invasive, disgusting, you just don't want to, like, you're just like, I'm gonna throw up right now. Like, the tube in, and they got me to lay down on the table, which I didn't want to do because I had a tube in my fucking back. And they were like, no, you're okay. I laid down, and then they put my arms on either side, like I was like on a cross basically. They put my arms on either side and they strapped me down. And that was a really weird feeling. I was like, okay, this is it. This is how I'm going out. So I'm laying there, like strapped down to this fucking gymnastics beam. Pregnant as hell, and I'm scared, and I'm high as a kite. There's nurses everywhere. I remember one nurse asking the other one if I had been administered Tylenol yet, and I was like, I'm high as a kite right now, you're gonna give me Tylenol? And I asked, like, how are you gonna give me Tylenol? And they said, oh, we're putting it in your butt. Putting Tylenol in your asshole. What? I was not okay. I was like, no, that's not gonna happen. I didn't sign up for this. You're gonna cut a baby out of me. You are not putting anything in my asshole. Well, it's already in there. And I was like, I didn't feel that at all. At this point, the doctors had come in, and there was 2 doctors. My gynecologist, who / OBGYN, came in and was talking, and like I was high as a kite. I don't really remember all of it. And then this other doctor came in who was just, I guess they just like to have 2 doctors for emergency purposes. It's probably a good thing. And I remember the doctor saying, are we ready to begin, and blah blah blah, and I was like, what if I feel it? And she's like, no, I'm gonna poke you in a few places and you let me know if you feel it. At this point, they had brought Chris in, and Chris came and sat down beside me on the stool, and they were like, you stay there, don't move. If you feel woozy, you need to let us know. We need to like get you out of here, basically. She poked me, and she poked me in a few different spots, and she's like, do you feel this? And I was like, no, I don't feel it at all. And then I remember hearing, I can't remember if they had the radio on or not. I don't think they did, but they were talking, and they were like talking about, what did you do this Saturday? And to put you on an IV of antibiotics. And the reason for that is so that in case you get, just to kind of combat and help you to not get an infection because you're having such a big surgery, basically. I had warned them beforehand that I was allergic to most antibiotics, and they were like, well, we have to put you on something, so we're just gonna do it. They put me on an antibiotic that I was allergic to, and within minutes of them starting that drip, I immediately started breaking out in red patches, and then I told them, I was like, I feel like I can't breathe right now, and I had a mask on me that was pumping oxygen into my face, and the anesthesiologist said to the doctor as she's cutting me open, like she's going into anaphylactic shock. So he had to combat that with drugs. I kind of clued into the fact, even though I was so high, I was like, holy, I'm gonna puke, I'm gonna vomit everywhere. I kept feeling really nauseous. I know they had me on gravel, they had me on allergy medication, but I'm not quite sure what it was that they had me on. I was on ketamine, lidocaine. I had Tylenol in my asshole. Like, name it, it was there. It's such a weird feeling when you can't feel what's going on with your body, but you can almost feel it. Like whenever they would tug, I could almost feel it on my stomach, like on top of my stomach or whatever. Like it's just like this, you can't feel it, but you know it's there. You know what I'm saying? I basically knew that something was wrong when I felt this burning sensation, and the only way that I could describe it was that it felt like somebody had cut me open and then put their hands like this and then ripped. It was the worst snake bite of your entire life. You know, like when you were kids and you used to do that, it was like, I honestly, I can't even explain it. It was the worst, burning, most painful thing that I've ever experienced, and I felt like I was being murdered. I felt like that was it. I was gonna die. And I yelled out, and I was like crying, and I yelled out and I said, like, stop, I can feel that, I can feel that. And I remember them stopping, and I remember the doctor who was performing the surgery said, what do you feel? Tell me what you feel. And I just remember saying, it burns, like it hurts so bad right now, like I can feel that, I know that you're in my uterus. And I remember hearing her say, what do we do? And the anesthesiologist, who was like on this side of me, my husband is on this side of me, the anesthesiologist, I remember looking at him, and he looked at her and he's like, you have to keep going. And then basically I remember hearing my doctor say, you're just gonna have to hold on, like this is gonna be, this is, and the way that she said it, it was like, this is gonna suck and you're gonna hate it, but you just need to hold on. And because they were right at that point where they had cut through and moved things out of the way and did whatever it is that they need to do to get to that uterus, they had cut open and they were getting ready to take the baby out. And so yeah, it was a really weird feeling. I remember I remember specifically feeling like a hand go inside of me, and that they were like twisting the baby. Like I could feel that twisting and that movement. And then I felt a lot of pressure on my stomach, almost as if like they were like pushing the baby towards the hole that they had made, trying to get the baby to like come out. Just poke her head up and be like, what's up? Just remember the hand movements and the twisting, and then I remember it seemed like it was so slow and it was taking forever, but it was honestly like seconds, or like 30 seconds, and they had pulled the head out. She immediately started screaming. They hadn't even like suctioned her mouth or anything. She just started wailing, and then they pulled her head out. I think they suctioned her before they pulled the rest of her out, but before they suctioned her, like she was just like screaming, like she was like a banshee. She was pissed that she was coming out of that oven. She was like, oh hell no. And they pulled the rest of her out, and as they pulled her out, it was just like my stomach just went bloop, bloop, bloop. And I was in so much agony, and I was so high that I just had no idea about what was going on and just so confused. Brought her over to the little table where they're checking her, and there was a pediatrician. So they're like going over her and everything, and then they were going to wheel her out, like that was it. Like there was no like, we're gonna linger a little bit, like they were gonna get her the fuck out of there. And my husband said, no, my wife wants to see this baby. And knowing now, like if I had known before going into this what I was gonna feel, I would have been like, no, take the baby, like I'll see her later. I kept having my head to the side like this, and I was looking at the anesthesiologist, because for whatever reason that helped make me not think about what was going on. And I remember Chris going, look over here, look over here. And I remember turning my head and looking, and there was a pink, fat, angry baby. So they took her out immediately, and Chris went with them. And all I remember after that was the anesthesiologist, like with his arm coming over and hitting IV bag, and he had like medication with him, and that was it, and I was out instantly, like boom, I was gone. Like soon as the baby and my husband were out, like they put me out. Now it didn't last very long. I came back twice. There was one time when they were pushing, the doctor was like elbowing me and pushing me in my stomach, and I remember thinking like, what the fuck? Like, what kind of barbaric shit is this, man? It's 2011. Like, why are you touching me like that? And I yelled out, and I was like, ow, and she was just like, no, you I'm trying to make your uterus clamp down, which I guess like when you have a natural birth, like your uterus like contracts down to its regular size or whatever, but when you have a C-section it doesn't do that, so that's what she was doing. And then the second time I woke up, I was being stapled, and I didn't feel the staples. By that time I was still numb, like on the top layer of my stomach. It was almost as if like I had got numb, like the top layer of skin, and then it just didn't finish numbing like at my uterus. It just never finished, like it didn't numb it at all. I woke up being wheeled into the recovery room, and I was told that until you could wiggle your toes, you are not allowed to go up to see your baby. Basically, you have to wiggle your toes. And when I got to the recovery room, I automatically already could wiggle my toes, and I could almost lift my leg. Like the epidural did not work on me at all. Like it gave me nothing, basically. Like tiny bit of temporary relief as they first cut into me, but then the rest of it was like, surprise, you're being murdered. The doctor came into the recovery room shortly after surgery, and she still had all of her stuff on, and she like pulled her mask off. It was very dramatic. Pulled her mask off, and she basically said, in rare cases that happens, and we can't predict when it happens, but it does, and it sucks, but that's what it is. And next time, like if you have another C-section, your best bet would just to be knocked out. Like you're completely under, there's no epidural, you're just out. And I was like, yeah, I'm okay with that. I'll just be knocked out the entire time. I'll wake up and there'll be a baby. I'm fine. I'm okay with that. It was my C-section horror story. I don't regret it at all. I got a beautiful 10-pound fat, happy little baby girl out of it, who, when she also came out, the doctor said like she has 2 chins and she has red hair, and I just remember thinking like, 2 chins? Is my baby deformed? I opted for the C-section. I was the one that wanted to do it. So yeah, that is my C-section horror story time. I hope that you liked this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.